Right. Welcome to the Dowsing Mastermind for every Saturday. And this is December the 11th, getting close to Christmas and big cosmic events about to happen. So who knows what's happening tonight or tomorrow? Charlie, do you know what's happening?
It's 12, 12, 12, and there's a lot of things happening. I have a picture that I copied somewhere. It's on my page, and I can't
Uh,
even remember all the things that are happening. But for me, what I sense is happening is we're running at the end of a 9-year period of where from 12, 12, 12 to this moment. And so this is a moment of great change.
oh,
And what I see is a great shift in a paradigm, that what we call a paradigm, this thought pattern of living. And that is from this point on, we're going to manifest backwards into who we truly are.
really interesting. When you started to say that, I really got an intuitive feeling that this has connected to everything's connected to the Mayan calendar, but there's something significant about this. Maybe it was 2012, but now it's 12, 12, 12. It seems to maybe the 12 in the number itself has relevance to the Mayan calendar. But it certainly feels in my world that there's something. Well, I'm getting this urge. You can't see me behind me, but my office is upside down. I just vacuumed it. Everything's piled to the ceiling. I've got this incredible urge to get everything cleaned up right from top to bottom on all levels, emotional, spiritual, psychological, between now and the beginning of the new year. I just have this feeling that this is massive, deep cleanup time on all levels.
Yeah, that's it. I can read you this. This is from Meg Benedict, but
All
and it
right,
was on
go for it.
the page. It was on 12, 12, 12. An ascension portal opens during the annual gateway alignment with the galactic center located approximately 26 degrees Sagittarius, a time of potent manifesting in the source field. 1212 is AA Metatron's, Archangel Metatron's Ascension Gateway activation. 1212 represents your spiritual growth as an infinite being. According to Metatronian mysticism, 1212 is a sacred code that activates your Merkaba field. The energy is greatly magnified during from 1212 to 1221. So this is an extended until the solstice, 1221. This alignment is and biofield is open. And so that's what it's doing. It's creating a biofield that's receiving crystalline energy and activations. And so that's what it goes on to say. And it's really about your soul embodiment. And this is what I see as, for me, the point of shift where what we've been working towards and feeling, as far as many people call it ascension, they call it enlightenment. There's all kinds of names for it. When we let go of the names, what it is, those of us who have been on this pathway of our hearts, so to speak, it's going to um, be the point where we can't go backwards. This
Right.
this is the cutoff point.
Yeah, I think that's what this new year is all about, is the cutoff point. I guess they call it, with Alexander and the troops, it was crossing the Rubicon. Once they crossed the Rubicon, the river, there was no going back. Or it's like the Vikings
Yeah,
burning their ships when they hit the shore, right? There's no
right.
going back. You're fully committed to the next step. No surrender, you know, go forward and do your thing. Hopefully we don't have to do it with blood and sweat and tears, maybe sweat and tears, but not blood. So yeah, maybe, time of transformation. There was an interesting post on Facebook. I don't know if I can find it quickly, but it had to do with ascension. And I found myself sort of thinking, well, what do I think about the concept of ascension? And see if I can find it quickly. And I found myself thinking, well, so many people are thinking about ascension as of vacating this dimensional level and going to some other dimension or going through a gateway or a portal to another level of consciousness. And I found myself thinking, do I really want to do that? I mean, I really do love this planet. It's a gorgeous planet. Do I really want to be going elsewhere, or do I really want to be fully enlightened in this body right here, right now? And if I had my choice, if I could wave a magic wand and say, do you want to go to another dimension, or do you want to be here, heaven, and create heaven on earth? I'd rather be here creating heaven on earth. There's something beautiful about this pearl of a planet, right? Do you got any thoughts on that, Charlie or Shelley?
Right. Your mouth went whoop.
I know. Well, it's funny because this is again brings us to the quantum field, and the information now that's being filtered are slowly trickled into the human consciousness about the quantum field, which they've been working with for over 20 years, but not saying a word to anyone because it defies and it goes against what they've been teaching for thousands of years. And what happens is this process, when we talk about ascension, what is ascending?
Exactly.
So we in human terms think of this physical body, and we're here in this physical body. Yet the three of us know that there's there are other dimensions that we work in and with. We call them spirit, or we call them elementals, or they're energy fields. And all of these energy fields are in the quantum field simultaneously. So just as all of that is in the quantum field, so are we in the quantum field simultaneously. So the ascension that I'm seeing and I'm feeling right now, like the gateways, is just the opportunity to remember who we are in other dimensions of the quantum field, that we are existing simultaneously, but we will still be here in physical form in this third dimension. However, we'll be active and processing information from a dimension that is not third dimensional.
I love that. I got it. So we can be like the Sasquatch. We can choose whether we want to be seen in this dimension or not seen in this dimension, whether we want to interact on this dimension or not. And if somebody's getting a little nasty, the Sasquatch just disappears, and the last thing you see is his eyes. It's not that he's still there, just that you can't see him because he's a multi-dimensional being. So like the Masters of the Far East, which everybody around here is reading and rereading again, we get a choice of which dimensional level we want to deal with for whatever length of time. So that's sort of interesting, right? So it means that this dimension or reality, this third dimension, is still available for us to do the work, but we don't have to necessarily hang out in the middle of a crisis, right? As it's unfolding. That's
right.
Pretty interesting. I like that concept.
Well, so that's the thing. We may still be here in the physical form, but what's going to happen is more and more we're going to rely on the inner dimensions through the heart. And the heart is the gateway. And so as we become accustomed to that, it's going to become easier and easier and easier. The world around us is still going to go through its own shift, and the power controllers that have controlled it for the last 2,000 years or whatever are still going to try to play and manipulate, the story, because that's their whole pattern. They've been doing this for thousands of years of erasing history and rewriting it in accord with what gives them power over.
Mm-hmm.
And what they have done now is they've got to come to the point where Mother Earth is in such a state from their disrespect, and I'm just going to put it in those terms, is from that disrespect, the Mother Earth is reacting now. And Mother Earth is saying, you can't win against me.
Yeah,
because you are part of me.
right.
You have continued to think that you're not part of me, that you have more power than I have. But I was here before all of you. And I don't know where this is coming through from right now, but it's, so this is what I've been seeing and working with for the past couple of months. And now it's, as we come to 12/12 and all of this culmination, it's all seeming to fit into a pattern that I don't completely understand yet. But I do know that the shifting is happening, and it's happening for everyone. But those who have been working with energies and different modalities of heart resonance and mind opening experiences will be more attuned to recognize this.
Yeah, I've certainly been having more people showing up asking for help because of possession problems or um, energy field or all sorts of nasty showing up because there is a very traumatic time for lots of people. And those that, are empathic and have the feelings of what's going on around them and feel overwhelmed are really looking for a group of like-minded people because they have nobody to talk to. They can't talk to their family. Family doesn't understand if they're vaccinated. They can't talk to the unvaccinated. It just gets more and more complicated. And of course, we're coming close to Christmas when people are having to go home and face the inevitable unfinished business at the family level. So, I mean, the three of us have been working in the community of like-minded people for quite a while. So, Shell, what do you have to say about the power of community and group?
Well, first of all, Kuan Yin is this on my left-hand side standing with me, and she just wants to wave her hands at the quantum blues brothers, the cosmic blues brothers here. Because I don't know where we get it. We're in edgewise between the cosmic consciousness happening here. No, I guess in listening to all of this, it's kind of interesting. Because I can remember, 20 years ago, where people were talking about ascension, and it was very clear it was about descending into our bodies as understanding there is no separation. The quantum field isn't something out there, it is actually who we are.
Right.
And the I mean, from my experience, it like Charlie was describing, it just comes to the heart, because it's from the heart of creation that I feel myself in a direct relationship with the energies, the elementals, the vibrational field that uplifts and maybe gives me sight to see some of these. But my sense is the overwhelm is that the threads, the tentacles within our own being that are trying to figure out this world. I don't know if you've studied human design, but years ago I studied it quite a bit, and it was very interesting to me that in my design, my mind was defined. So there was this openness into the cosmic connection. But my mind was defined, my heart was open. I mean, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because we think of like this having this easy access to the cosmic consciousness that you're describing. And for me, it felt very different. It felt like there was this direct relationship with Earth, with the third dimension, that was, as I didn't understand it in the beginning, but really a gift to be able to have a foot in both worlds, so to speak. And therefore, when people came that were doing transpersonal work or paranormal work, they were having incredibly difficult times being in their body, right? Like you're describing.
Yeah.
At the time, and even now, I'm just kind of playing with it, because when they came in direct connection with their heart and the love, all that fear, all that overwhelm went away. It didn't exist. It's like the light and the dark. It didn't exist. And so it's interesting to me to be continually talking about ascension. And yes, the masters and teachers talk about ascension. But to really open the portal, I feel like this is what we're doing through dowsing, through the different experiences that we're, offering is to like almost like that wave comes this way. The wave of energy comes in, creating that definitive support of life force that can then see and be in direct relationship with oneself and with what's ever moving, right? And so for me, it feels a little bit, maybe I'm making it less cosmic-y. I don't know, because I tend to do that, but I think it's really great because everyone needs a place to come in.
Right.
Talking about community, it's that, there's all these holographic threads or fields or portals that can bring us to the right people at the right time, and into the right community. And that surrender that you were talking about really is really coming back. It's interesting. Surrender has an interesting meaning. Like, oh my God, I got to surrender. Like, oh my God, my book isn't published. I have all these things going on and I better surrender, and otherwise I'm going to get whipped more than I even want to. And then there's this other aspect of it that is coming into our innocence.
Right. And letting go.
Right. In our innocence and our humility and our openness to say, show me. And from that place, really the quantum field just is, as resonance is. The quantum field is an experience, and this, I'll end here with this sense of widening our consciousness. So when we are thinking of ascension, we're thinking of going up. But in my experience, what is really important, and find access to those people who understand that widening, so that that heart expands. And I'm complete.
Isn't it interesting? Like we talk about the tube torus, and we talk about the field, and we talk about involution, evolution. We talk, clear by going counterclockwise and installing clockwise, and we're talking about the core of the tube torus. And when that alignment happens with the divine energy coming down through and anchoring to the earth, which you're talking about, your love of the earth and your feeling of that connection that gives you that anchor, that feeling of oneness, right? Of being on with all of nature, and your own inner nature is a feeling of giving you connection to the field. And that allowance of opening our heart is that downward flow, right? And that upward flow is from the earth back up. And when that happens, certainly in quantum mechanics, you have an explosion in that 0 point, right? In the center of your heart, where it literally explodes this way. It like goes out, like the cross is this alignment, a pillar of light, and then it explodes outward. So it is, like you say, it's like a wave, a quantum wave going out from your heart that embraces everything. So isn't it ironic that we think that we need to go somewhere, or that we need to achieve enlightenment, or that we need to be ascending or whatever, when a separation is impossible. The only separation is in our head, right? And our mind can only deal with reality in light and dark, good or bad, this or that. It can't embrace the wholeness of it, of what is, whereas the heart can. The heart just calms you down and makes you dwell in that peaceful oneness where there is no separation. So it's an interesting phenomenon. We think we need to be going somewhere or striving, or we need to do more Bodhi beads, or we need to do more chanting, or more meditation, or more whatever, or we have to do more forgiveness, or whatever, right? And really, maybe it is, we just need to be still. I don't know. Anyway, interesting questions.
It's beautiful. No, that's beautiful. And I thank you, Shelley, for that, because, you brought to mind, what if we're a double torus? And I'm looking at the cross of the Cathars, which is basically square cross in a circle. And that's the point within the circle. And we have the 12 around one, and we have all the sacred symbols. What if we are a double torus? what if we've forgotten the torus of the heart? Because we always relate to above and below. Yet in this circle here, we're going through this way. Our heart resonance for me, when I send love, I send it out here. I don't send it up or down. So I'm just putting this into the field because, you know, these are things in the quantum field that exist that we're not been aware of. And this is really part of this journey of next year and what we're preparing for. So we use the old term of ascension only because the ancients used the word ascension. And they always believed they came from above to below. So I think what's happening for all of us right now is this transition period is opening every aspect of our mind to not dismiss anything and just to say, what is the possibility of this? What is the possibility of that? And when we align our energy field with that possibility, the potential of it being is more likely than it has ever been. While there are still people who want to keep this container, I always like to call it, uh, I can't remember what I call it, but it's the jar that you pop the lid off and it all spills out. Anyway, was it?
Champagne?
No, not champagne. It's
I think it's Jack in the Box.
well, they're all good things, but it's not. But it's okay. It's an ancient Greek thing, but it's okay. Pandora's box. There you go.
Oh, yeah,
Pandora's
Box.
box. So here's this bottle of champagne, this Pandora's box. But what if it pops out this way? So, you know, I just put this into the field for all of us to realize that I think what's happening now is that we have been so focalized in a pattern of thinking for so many thousands of years, and it's actually been an entrainment, an actual entrainment for purposes, and it's irrelevant what the purposes were, but we can see it's mostly about control and taking away everybody's sovereignty. And what we're returning to is that sovereign self. Well, what does that sovereign self means? Is that we now have the power to discern within ourselves through our hearts and through the heart resonance to what is happening and the potential of the possibilities. And in that moment, as people awaken to that, even in little doses, everything will start to shift because it's part of the collective quantum fields, energy moving in that direction. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but that's Riverman talking.
Yeah, the river of light.
Keep
Well, when we
flowing.
look at the assemblage point, you know, we say, well, your heart is not aligned, you know, sort of, I call the assemblage point sort of your joystick for life. And if it's out of, you know, this way, that way, and it's not centered, there's all sorts of manifestations that occur in your life or problems that you have because you're not centered in your heart. And, you know, when it's balanced, it is straight through, right? It's straight in the center and it's balanced with, you know, with the chi channel or the shushumi running this way, your heart is straight and the assemblage point, it comes straight through. So it's like being pinned in the center of the cross or in the center of the apex of the tube torus. But when they describe that and show the diagram, they have the tube torus of the head, right? Then they have the tube torus of the body. But in actual fact, if I think you're right, there's a tube torus of the heart head, there's a tube torus of the heart, and I think there's a tube torus of the gut. I think there's a tube torus for each one of the three brains. And then around that is the holistic aspect we call an aura or a bioenergy field or whatever names we want to call it. So I think you're right. I think that, you know, if we looked at it holistically, there is more than one, you know, we are a tube torus made up of multiple other two torus, one of the biggest ones being the heart, right? Anyway, something to think about.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling lately is that this heart center is just opening more and more. And I'm not, the human brain says it's opening, but what I'm feeling is I'm going deeper into it and through it. And the energy is moving this way and through me, but it's not through me and behind me, it's through me into me.
Right.
And that into is the connection, to all that exists, source, however you want to look at it. And so this is, if I put it in terms of water, it's diving into the deep well and coming back into the womb of Mother Earth. So poetically, that's how I look at it. But it's not just what is the inner heart of Mother Earth. Is that all in the quantum field as well? So I look at this wholeness. This is what I'm beginning to see now, is a wholeness with all of us that I've never sensed before. So even as we talk, the three of us, addressing all of this information from different frequencies and different teachings and learnings and lifetimes, this is what it's all about. It's all correct. It's all correct. But it's stuck in a place and time, or that that it fit. And now we're coming to a place where all of that just doesn't fit right anymore. And this is what we're doing, is letting go. As I always tell people, we're letting go of what we no longer need to live and be free in the moment in what we call the future. So we're getting rid of a lot of things that we're releasing a lot of things that are both, they're psychological, they're physical, they're electromagnetic. All of these things we're releasing in order to fit through this toroidal field and move into this greater space that we really are.
So I have a question for both of you. I mean, we, in the work that we're doing and, learning how to attune to the field and be one with the field, work as a group, and attune our hearts collectively to the heart of the field, the heart of the mother, the divine mother, hearts all the way up, all the way down. Certainly in this chaotic time on this planet, we're knocked off center or out of our heart, or we become discombobulated. How's that for a word, right? And so what sort of ways have each of you come to get yourself back into the heart of the heart?
For me, especially where I'm living, I think the easiest way is to just go up and be in nature.
Right, go visit the eagles.
But, yeah. But I find, like, of course, probably quickest is just to simply make that connection with your own heart and breathe and just allow the energy to move, because when we're out of our heart center, we feel anything from, as you're describing, anything from contraction to upset to reaching for someone else to, there's all kinds of things that dynamically happen. But it's that return, this is what I feel is, it's all about that return home. And when we feel home, so our first home is right here, and that connection, and people think it's silly, but it's a simple couple of breaths. And one of the biggest things that I've carried in my own journey is the sense of being willing to be open to receive, because we have to open to receive if something's going to make that shift. And I think it was Charlie who was, his word the other day was flow, to be in that flow. And There's lots of methodologies, but the breath is instantly we've been given this connection with the heart, um, and also one of the things for me is to become very conscious of how you're holding your body, because usually when anything's going outside of that frequency, our body is reporting it, right? I have a headache, I have shoulder aches, I have whatever. So one of the things that, and it's funny, it keeps calling me back, is a sense of learning how to track energy in your body, right? So very simply, by opening your breath, you can begin and just begin to move your body. In the slowest way, you begin to understand how I got into this frozen place.
Well, that's profound. I mean, that's the basis of Feldenkrais, is just that, is doing the slow movements to get your body to remember what it is to make the right move, right? Rather than the other muscles taking over, which are stress or duress, right?
Well, I would add a little piece from, I don't know a whole lot about Feldenkrais, but what I do know is that if I can understand how I got frozen, like just in the movement of the
Yeah.
gesturing of my body,
Yeah.
then I can through my breath just release it and open and move. And I think that's part of why it's so easy in nature, because nature impels us to move immediately into wonder of some sort, whether it's a birds or whether it's the trees moving or the wind or the water, where we instantly become connected, right? Because we're disconnected from what is our true way. So, but the beauty of understanding our body as a fluid system, and I think this is really, really, really important. So even we can learn all these different modalities, but understanding and learning more about whole systems that are naturally flourishing, that naturally are feeding themselves and each other. Our body needs to be fed with connection and love, and so yeah, I think it's a great question and lots of different answers.
I think the fundamental one that you gave, though, is really, and we haven't had, and Charlie's been still and quiet, which is unusual, and we haven't given them a chance yet. But the breath of life, what you're talking about, the whole heart math aspect is, it seems simple, but it really is powerful. It's transformative. It's if you buy one of their little monitors and you plug it on your ear and it's connected to your heart and you follow the monitor and breathe, you will see that when you're in the zone, and when you're in the zone, and they use that for first responders and ambulance drivers and avalanche people, because if they're not in their heart, if they're not coherent, then they're part of the problem in a crisis, right? So learning how to be in the stillness within the heart in the midst of chaos is the key to being able to be stress-free. So I love what you're saying. It seems simple, and in one level it is simple, but we can get knocked off our taking deep rests like we have, which we love to do in nature, because we are inspired, like inspired, bringing in the breath of life. So thank you for that. So over to you, Charlie. What do you do?
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Shelley, for bringing us back to Mother Earth and nature, because this is what we are a part of. We're not separate from nature, and we've been programmed to believe that we are. And over thousands of years, we no longer live in nature. We live in these buildings and these structures that separate us from nature continually. And then we're being bombarded with all of these frequencies and different modalities of computer systems and signals that are natural signals that have been, I'm going to use the word distorted, in order to carry messages and other things. So what we've used is the naturopathic way of planet Earth, but we've manipulated it to our use. And in doing that, we've separated ourselves from nature. And so when I talk to anybody, my biggest thing to them, if you want to heal and you want to feel better, get out in nature, ground yourself, sit on the ground, go barefoot. We wear shoes with rubber soles. So we're disconnected from the earth. We used to walk barefoot or have leather soles. That energy is distorted. And this is part of the healing process in all of us and the heart resonance. If you look back to when we were born, the first organ to come online was our heart. And whatever information we received came through the heart. And that was the connection to Mother Earth. And I read something today on my wall about the Great Mother. And the Great Mother said, her bottom line was, I was there from the very beginning. So this connection to Earth is really important now for all of us. And it does help us ground. It gives us a place to let go, to release in. And when we go into the woods, we are in a living world.
Absolutely.
Trees, wind, leaves, animals. We're in a living world, which
We
is,
remember our place, I guess, or
yeah.
yeah.
So I think this all ties together with who are we and what are we, more than what we have been believing, and it's time to return home.
Well, I know both of you are, Mother Earth and grounding as both, and breath is very central to both of your ways of coming back to center. But I know also that you both are water stewards, and that water is really part of the elementals that you like to talk to and be part with and do ceremony with. So how does that fit in, Charlie?
Well, the simplest way I can say is water is life. And that's not just a saying from a bunch of people who are protesting.
Mm,
No water, no life. And
right.
that's the blunt truth of all of it. And I think the thing that's been upsetting me lately is the fact that we have now, people have agreed to make water a commodity. What does that say about humans? Are we commodity as well? Are we as expendable as the water? What has collective evolution done to the water other than poison it, destroy it? So I look at this as a vision of, if we don't come back into awareness of who we truly are as water beings, then the rest is just history. So the message from me on water as Riverman is to come back and bless your water, purify your water, go and connect with your water, sit with the water, watch the light come into the water, become one with the water. And in that process, you are out in nature, which is the living Mother Earth. And now you're looking at the source of your physical being came from water. You were in the waters of your mother's womb, and you were light
And
before
so
your
it
heart
was
beat.
in the beginning.
There you go. So that's water. So to me, water is the most sacred of elements. Not that the others aren't, but for me, that's. But I'm a Pisces, and of course I would love water.
Well, as a riverman, you have
And a
to.
riverman, yeah.
So
And
if
you get the
you-
name Riverman by dying after you cross a river and then coming back. So that's another whole story for another
Yeah,
show.
right. Yeah, and that's, again, that's the Rubicon. Once you cross that river, there's no going back, right?
This is it.
So water for you, Shell, or even the function of ceremony, because Charlie's really talking about water in the terms of ceremony of getting in nature and blessing water and honoring mother water and the waters of life. So
Um, hmm, water.
Water, yeah.
Yeah, we all know it's the sustenance of life. It's what makes things flourish. If you don't give a plant water and you go away for 4 days, it's not going to be in too good shape when you get back.
True enough.
But I also feel like it's the relation, again, just talking about whole systems, understanding that everything moves by the cycle of water, and I think there's one word that I've been as I've been listening, like the word joy. Because what is joy? What is, you know, um, joy we experience when we see a waterfall. People always want to go to the ocean, no matter where they live. There's something about walking along that shore, the movement of the water of within its cycles. And we might live in Maine like this, and it started out snowing, and then it turned to freezing cold ice, and then it was rain all within about an hour and a half. And I feel like I mean, to me, water is the source of our magnificence. It's a source of joy. It's a source field of life itself. Nothing moves without water, even stones. Except I'm trying to think, was it you who gave me that stone? I think it was Charlie gave me this stone. Or I found, oh, no, sorry. This was just recently at a massage. I found this stone that actually it says, it's one of the only stones, it's called angelite, oddly enough, that it doesn't hold water. It's a compressed mineral and has no water in it, but most stones even have water. So, I mean, for me, the appreciation of water, yes, we can have it in a shower, but there's something really beautiful and I want to wheel it back to understanding our watersheds.
Mm.
I think that's where it comes back to when I have a sense of coming home to my relationship to the land where I am, even if you're in a building, something starts to shift and something starts to soften, and there's an openness. Again, I come back to this receptivity, right? Our bodies have to be able to receive the nourishment of the water, and its message to ourselves. And so it's very interesting. Tonight I had this really interesting experience, like the new Macs. I want to go to computer land. The new Macs, right? You just touch your finger and the thing opens up. Hallelujah, right? Except mine wasn't working. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, you're supposed to just push, and then you don't remember your password and it's one or the other. And I had this realization, and I realized I really felt dehydrated. So my fingerprint was slightly different. And when I started drinking water, all of a sudden, I'm it's like taking the frames and making them, move faster. But basically I went, wait a minute. When my finger was really dehydrated, it wasn't really making the computer work. So, I just, again, it comes back to realizing who we are. We are water features ourselves. We are, we can look at, oh yes, we grew in our mother's womb, but that doesn't mean anything to a corporate person, right? Who doesn't care. But what does matter to them is their grandchildren being able to play in pure water, to be able to go out into nature with everyone feels from that grandparent, whether, I'm sure there's people who don't have grandchildren or curmudgeon, but basically that's where we come together, is this love of, watching our children, our grandchildren really grow. And so water for me is really the joy de vivre of life. It brings us back to our soul essence. And this is a journey of understanding our living waters, how they're working, because when your heart doesn't work, or when your liver is gone, that's not fun, right?
No, dehydration can give you the feeling of intimate intimate, not intimate, but quickly coming to death. Our friend down the road became dehydrated and she just about lost it. I mean, she thought she was literally dying. That's how close it can take you to the edge quickly, right? Dehydration. And most of us don't even know the symptoms of it, right? Anyway, this turned up on when I was cleaning my.
Oh, we got a few of those around here.
And it says water first pledge. And it's from the Loving Waters group, of which Shelley is part of, and also Charlie. And it says, I pledge to put water first in my life, to respect, appreciate, and cherish water as a sacred source of all life and a primary intelligence of the earth. Knowing that 99% of the molecules in my body are water, I pledge to nourish my own inner water by choosing healthy thoughts, words, emotions, and actions. Joining with others, I pledge to protect, restore, and sustain the integrity of my local watershed, understanding it is deeply interconnected with all other water on the planet. I pledge to share my love of water with my family and community and continue educating myself and others on the ways to ensure the purity and vitality of water for future generations. This is from www.lovingwaters.life. So you too can get your own pledge and put it over your water bottle, or put your water bottle on the pledge and do your ceremony. Absolutely.
So I think there's one, I'd like to just do one more thing, which you just mentioned there, which is a good reminder for even me. You know, when we're talking, it's our water speaking, right? When we're breathing out, when we're exhaling,
Mm.
we're breathing out. It's the dampness, it's the water of our breath, the vapor of our breath, you know. And so when, just to understand, like when we're talking about the words, you know, we're sharing, be they harmful or be they not harmful, they are an expression. And part of that expression of who we are is the water, and how that is being, you know, revered or not revered. You know, and again, coming back to the heart resonance, it's like when I come into communion with my waters, with my heart, right? Because the heart is pumping the water of life through your system, right? And then it comes out here. So I think there's something to be said in understanding there is this, again, it's the widening of our consciousness. Are we willing to be informed by this weaving it back to the quantum field again, by this quantum field that is wanting to bring a sense of gratitude and reciprocity through that living cycle of water? And you know, it's something worthy. I mean, I guess just, I want to say it's like something worthy of exploring.
Mm-hmm.
What is my relationship to water? Not more than just drinking it, but as a communicator, right? As a communicator, we're always sharing our waters, you know, and sometimes we don't like it when there's a virus going around.
Yeah, just gonna go there, and you know, and when we want to stop that flow of energetic exchange, we just put a diaper on her face. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah. But it's the breath of life, you know. I mean, in the beginning was the word. You can't have a word without water coming out of your mouth to form the vowels and consonants of the word, you know. Not, it's interesting, the flame letters, you know, have to do, the flame itself comes from the speaking, which is from the water of the breath in the beginning, and then it turns into flame letters. So that's interesting how maybe in the whole, you know, evolution of the elementals, which I don't know if there's an evolution of elementals, maybe water was one of the primary ones. Maybe it was the big source of all life, like you said, on all levels, on all dimensions. I mean, certainly they say you can't have life without water. That's what you know, one of the indicators they're looking for on other planets. But who knows? Maybe there's life with different forms of a major elemental force, but ours is certainly water. And blessing water, as we know through Dr. Emoto's work, is, you know, it's as strong, if not stronger, than any allopathic medicine we could ever take. If we bless our water and infuse herbs into our water, we can pretty well transform and heal any symptom that we may have. So Well, what an amazing conversation, and thank you both for showing up and having an opportunity to share with two of my favorite people to talk about these things, because I don't get to talk about them too often with very many people. And hopefully those that are tuning in and part of the Dowsing Mastermind and will have value out of this and into the future as well. So we have a few minutes, so we don't need to run away. So seeing as we're on this whole topic of water and elementals and bringing groups together, so how are you seeing the new year, given the work that you're doing with Shelley, with bringing groups together? And certainly this has been a huge living experiment that you're in the midst of what does it mean to have a group, and what are the dynamics of bringing groups together, and what sort of things arise when we are together, like, oh my goodness, we get our nose out of joint because we think somebody said something that was disparaging against us, or who's leading this anyway, and I don't want to be a follower, I want to be, I mean, there's so many dynamics in a group that we're really taught in our culture to be very individualistic and to maintain our strength as a sovereign human being, and don't mess with me, I'm me. And then we have to learn how to let go in a group and to the field, which is much bigger than ours, and learn how to become one with that and surrender so that we can have more flow in our life. So it's sort of counter to what our culture has taught us so far.
I think what's coming to me, just to keep it simple and short, is one of the things when the consortium, when the Dowsing Consortium came together in 2015, and it was very clear, the languaging at that time was together we're greater than the sum of our parts. But what I began to experience and what I saw others experience was an exponential strengthening and rising of the individual as a whole being within a whole. And that blew my mind. And that's what's been the evolution, is to understand that, when we can shift and open and understand field resonance, what that actually is, what its relationship to the heart, because we can spend a lot of time on our own heart and our own, what's my motivation, what's my calling, what's my this, and that's important. But the level of, what I saw was confidence rising, a sense of steadiness, stability, support, and that exponentially shifts the consciousness of the individual. Whereas prior to that, I always thought, oh, you got to do all your own individual work before you want to get in. No, it's actually the opposite. And this is part of the messaging of the collective water. What happens when we bring our waters together and understand that it's a living consciousness, intelligence, right? Water, the intelligence of nature coming forth and informing the field, which is us as a collective. Everything starts to change. And that's something that I'm, been watching over years, and that's where I want to play, because there's something really magical in that. We originally started talking about surrender, in surrendering to the field of the collective, and understanding there is a guiding force that's moving us into our highest potential. And that is challenging. I mean, it's asking us, faith, meet your triggers. And if you aren't, I'm going to bring it up for you so that we can see. This is freedom. Be free from our concepts and our judgments, and really get into this player's field of love and connection. So I'll leave it there.
No, thank you. Yeah. So that brings us full circle back, and we have to let Charlie have a go at this too. This whole idea of the evolution of consciousness, cosmic consciousness, and we're talking about ascension as someplace we may be wanting to go to. But really what we're talking about here in the group, as we come together collectively and attune to the field, we're part of the global brain. We're part of this evolution of a magnificence of learning what it is to be one with all that is. And we become home within ourselves and realize that we're not an island unto ourselves, that really our survival and our sense of belonging is really being part of a like-minded community that supports us and understands us, and being part of the collective whole of all of life and the oneness of all intelligence and all that moves, which we some call source, or of all that is, or God, or whatever name you want to call it. So over to you, Charlie. You have the last word.
Well, I'll take it back to the word ascension. And in the beginning, we were told a story that we came from a faraway place, a creator being who created us and gifted us with this beautiful planet on Earth to live in. And so the stories throughout all different cultures were the fact that there were higher levels that we could attain or move through or ascend. And so that became a common word for what we came from is who we are. But in order to stay connected to it, we had to believe we came from somewhere, rather than knowing that no matter where we are, we're already there. We're already where we began, and we're already where we're going to end.
Right.
And this is the place where we should be having what Shelley said, more joy through the water. Bless you all, and thank you all.
Yes, thank you ever so much. A wonderful time, and blessings to everybody who are both who now listening to it and in the future. May you all be blessed. Thank you ever so much. Bye for now, everybody.
Yeah.